Hello everyone, welcome to this tour of my first mega base doing 3000 signs per minute. But first, let me give you guys a sneak peek of the rest of the video with this montage. Enjoy! Alright, welcome back. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So as mentioned, this is a 3000 signs per minute mega base, but more specifically, it's 600 plus 2400. So if we look at the map view, the starter base is this is my starter base and it's doing 600 signs per minute. And then the rest of the factory is 2400. So in total 3000 signs per minute. So let us look at the production graphs. Let's just go to 10 hours. Okay, already pre-selected. So it's about 3000 signs per minute. And if we can actually see the starter base, we go to 250 hours. So around 600 signs per minute. And since we are looking at the graphs, let's look at our power condition. I'm pulling about 15 gigawatts and I have a capacity for 20 gigawatts. And what I have are pretty much, I rely pretty much on nuclear reactors. And we'll go through that later. Okay, so this video will be divided into three parts. The first section, I will give a tour of the starter base, which where we are now. The second will be about the prep work that I needed to do to get started building the mega base. And then we'll dive into the mega base itself. And as usual, the timestamps are in the video description. So let's get started. Let's just board the Spidertron so that we can move around quicker. So I started this base in 2022 and I built it over a 4 month period. And I've always liked urban planning and making large construction projects. So after seeing various videos on mega bases, I decided to try making one myself. So where we are now is the start of my mall. And of course, you saw where I landed. And if I'm not wrong, my starter ore patch should be over here. And then so I aligned my red signs. Of course, we all started on the red signs. So I just aligned it nicely with my crashed spaceship, then expanded from there. So as you can see, red signs, green signs, blue signs below, purple signs vertically over here is just my style. And then of typical Factorio playstyle, you think you have enough, but actually you don't. So I added more blue signs here. And then low density structures for the space signs, RCUs, yellow signs over here on top. Glad that I managed to squeeze that there. Or rather, I think I did place it here and then later on build the RCUs over here. So I have this pipe bus over here. Despite not having a normal belt bus, I still try to make space for my pipes. Then here we are at our oil refining area. And this actually I have one here and then I have another one here on the left side for the rocket fuel. Yep, over there. And then let's move along the top to where the silo is. So you notice this 5 silos. These are spoiler the silos for the mega base. And the silo for the starter base is actually over here. And where these colorful belts lead us is to my research labs for the starter base. So these guys are outputting 600 signs per minute. And then let us go to my Kovarex setup since that pretty much covers the starter base. So we'll transition to covering how I fulfill my electricity needs. And so that 20 gigawatts is being supplied by this Kovarex setup, and including my ammunition and the fuel for the trains, all just with this. And if you've seen my first tour of my very first base, it's the same blueprint essentially. So then let's look at what is being supplied. So this is, I think it is my very first one, if not the second. So this design is also from the previous tour that I did, my very first base, and some improvements. I guess I just kind of like made things better aligned. If not all else, it's the same design. So I have one here. I have another one here. I have another one here. One, two, three, and then four, five, six, seven. So that's 20 gigawatts of nuclear reactors. And you're going to need at least that much, especially for some of you guys who want to go 5,000 or even 10,000 signs per minute if your computer can handle it. And speaking of which, let me see if I can turn on the UPS counter because I am not getting the optimal amount of UPS. Let's see. Word of caution for those who want to build a mega base, you do need a beefy computer to be able to still smoothly play the game after you've started running the mega base. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to get a much slower experience than even what I'm having. All right. Since we've fully cleared a tour of the flutter base, let's go into the prep work that has to go to make the mega base. So let's go to map view. So first, I needed to set up train logistics. So these are my construction trains. So yeah, basically just use robots. And then once I had this, I had to secure the perimeter. I have to secure the space to build the mega base. So of course, we didn't have this. We have to clear this before we could start. So I started in phases, or well, I identified the kind of space that I wanted. From my starter base, this point here I designated as kilometer zero for my rail network. And then I looked at a point that's kind of like a nice bottleneck to a short enough distance between two obstacles to build a long wall. And then I basically did a copy. This is basically essentially what I did. So Control C, rotated it, and then aligned it. So then I have a perfect rectangle that is equidistant from my main railway line. And then from then on, once you mark that out, you take your construction train and then you build a railway line somewhere in the middle of where the wall is. So this is what I did. I of course I built the line first, clearing the bituminous along the way. And then from here, I placed the blueprint for the wall, just copy pasting until it covered the entire length, and then I let the robots handle it. And then, so I basically repeated that process for the northern walls, southern walls, and just nice. I have this water obstacle here. So I secured this area first, but I didn't start building just yet. I imagined that I imagined the factories being much bigger than what these are, what I have now actually. So it's a surprise that actually, you know, I imagined that this would be like 5 times bigger. But actually you don't need that much space. So then fearing that I didn't have enough space, I extended the base over to this next body of water. And I think that's a good decision. So then this essentially like a third of the mega base is just the smelting area. And then of course, once you've cleared this area, you first need to secure the resources. So then I extended my railway to the east. And if you've seen the tour of my very first base, the spaghetti base, I essentially did the same thing. I went all the way east to get the larger ore patches. And actually, my farthest outpost isn't all the way to the end, it's just up to here. And I'm getting about 97 million for an iron patch, 115,104 originally, and 75 million. And yeah, up to here is enough to support a 3000 science per minute mega base. And of course, there's a lot more patches in between that I have not tapped. So yeah, up to here, honestly, is more than enough if you're trying to build a mega base. Right, let me just go into detail on the actual setup. So I learned from my first base that actually alternating gun and laser turrets are more than enough, especially with the research bonuses. And just having a wall here and then having the logistics a bit farther back. Actually, if the most ideal is so that this roboport is like the farthest extent of this roboport just covers the wall. That's the best. The reason is if you place the roboport too near to the walls and you still have you need to clear the biters. You want to have the biters cleared by the turrets before your construction robots come in to repair the walls. Otherwise, if the biters are still not dead and your construction robots try to come in, the biters might try to attack the robots and then you'll run out of robots very fast. Or as you expend resources very fast. But of course, this is what I figured was a compromise since. And this is a good segue to the next prep work that I needed to do, and that is the logistics network. So in building this area, I depended on robots. So I placed a grid of roboports first before I placed the assemblers, basically everything in between. So how I did this was I took the roboport and I just spaced them to the maximum you could space them while still being connected. And then I just placed the large electric poles in between. So these are not actually the maximum extents for this, but between the robots, it is the maximum extents. So then I made this, and this is one, I would say this is one block. And then I basically just, again, copy pasted, starting from the middle, and then out and out. Making sure to not connect the robot network for the factory and the walls. So that, if I have, say, 500 robots here, they don't all try to repair the walls here. And that would just make things a bit messy. A bit too messy. Alright, so after I've set up the walls, I've cleared the area of biters, then I've set up the robot network, I can start building. So I have this how could I call this? This is the springboard area for the rest of the base. So I have the train set up automatically. So for example, if the furnaces run out, if it's been equal to 0, then they will go back to the starter base, pick up some more, and then return so that the robots can place them where they need to be placed. Let me just. Another prep work that needs to be taken care of, actually, right after you finish the first rocket launch, is. Remember, we talked about the. Oh, we're not. We're just about to talk about it after this clip. You need modules, productivity modules, and you need a lot of them. So before starting on the even even before starting the defenses, clearing the biters, making the spidertrons, well, having the spidertrons definitely helped. Before laying out the robot network to build the smelters, I had to set up the module production. So productivity modules, 3, and speed modules, 3. And I just had these accumulate stockpile. So I have 1500 here, 1500 here, and I have an entire factory just to produce the productivity and speed modules. Is basically this entire area. So a very critical part of the preparatory work to get the mega base running. Otherwise, you will feel that you've set up everything, you've designed everything, you've all the factories are laid out, but then you're not getting designs per minute because you don't have the productivity and speed modules. So very important. Alright, so let's talk about my smelting setup here. After we've cleared the biters from the area and you've had kind of like a rough idea of how long you want your ore trains to be, I went on to design my ore offloading station. So as mentioned previously, I have this block. So then my goal was to fit the entire loading station to half of it. So then I could have 2 loading stations per each of these squares. And what I decided to do, if you've seen my previous video on my very first Factorio base, this was this is essentially what my experiments culminated to. So these are 4 locomotives to 16 wagon trains, and it's essentially 2 trains stuck to each other. And how they work is they have a staggered stop. So train stop 1, for example this one, or this is leaving already. Let's look at this one. So it first stops at the first train stop, and it offloads until it reaches half its capacity. So 16,000 out of the 32,000. And once it reaches that point, it moves on to the next stop. And then once it's empty, then it moves on to the outpost to pick up some more. And the reason I did this was to save on space. And how it does that is, say, imagine I have this extension over here. I'm going to have to make a tighter bend. Maybe I would have to push this side more to the right. And then I would have less space for the belts. And in addition, because this has doubled now to this length, that means I would have twice the amount of belt that I needed to get all the resources out. So splitting my trains to basically offload half, then move on, then offload the next half saves me a lot of space. And not only that as well, it also saves me on trips actually. So I can have half the space and still seem as though I have an offloading station that's twice the size because I have two trains stuck to each other. So that's the main advantage of the design. And there is also segregation. You notice that I have two types of trains. I have these longer trains, and then I have this shorter two locomotive and four wagon trains. So the idea behind that is the ore trains just stick to this area, while the smaller trains are the ones that distribute it out the rest of the factory. The reason for that is to reduce congestion on the intersections, so that I don't have long trains going across and then the smaller trains have to bunch up and wait their turn. Especially since, of course, would still need to stop, and my throughput will go down. So that's the entire reason. So the long trains stick to here. They move back and forth uninterrupted, while the smaller trains go about around it. You can imagine kind of like a U shape around this main hub. Now let's go into the actual smelting setup. I have a couple. So you see this is a circuit stack. I have the normal smelting stack. So plates get smelted and then they go on to the distribution trains. And then I have iron here. And then I have a small one for stone to be converted into brick. So let's look at the circuit stack. So large stacks for the plates, which get directly fed into a green circuit factory, which get directly fed to a red circuit factory, which in turn get fed directly to a blue circuit factory. And any excess in those three, well, except the blue circuits, get sent to the distribution network. Just like that, the red chip is off. So I have two of these, one here and one here. And if you notice, yeah, this was how it originally looked, the bottom one. I've yet to expand this to cover this area as well. And then, of course, the normal ones. The steel, sorry, is this one here. Very big stacks, and the pickup is just one station. But that's just how it goes. And that's the smelting stack. So now we can go on to the actual science factories. Alright, let me just change into another setup because I am equipped for defense and I would want to walk a bit faster as we take the train. Okay, we are walking a bit faster now. Alright, so let's take the train. We shall first go to the red signs. Let's go there. Okay, so this is a red science factory for 2,400 science per minute. It's the smallest of all the science factories and simple enough to set up. So I have two offloading and one pickup. Ah, yes, I forgot to talk about how I actually designed this. So I have here a mod, which is the factory planner. And actually, there's another one, another version that's you can go onto the website online. If you don't want to install a mod, I will add the link to that as well. So how you do this is you add, say, create a recipe. Here's the name for it: red science. Commit, and then I add the product that I want to make. In this case, since I have the starter base already doing 600, I just want 2,400. Then left click, just change the preferences so that it defaults to the more advanced assembler. Okay, so to get 2,400 red science packs, I need 160 assembly machines. But of course, once you add modules, productivity modules, 286 because it slows down, then you add the beacons. In this case, let's count roughly. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 beacons affecting one assembler. 5. Okay. So I need 40 assembling machines. Much less than I think it was 160 that I needed just now. Then if we just try to see how many this is, well, I actually have 48 here. I think I might have set a. Yep. I assumed when I was planning that it had 4 beacons. Yeah, so 48. Of course, since this is over specified, I could technically go higher than 3,000 signs per minute. But yeah, one challenge about designing anything is to hold yourself back as well. Otherwise, it will not end. So that's a demonstration of the factory planner. So let's move on to the green science. And it's just over here. Here we go. So design is a bit more complicated than just the plain 40 odd assemblers. So this is one factory, copied and mirrored to produce 2,400. And of course, I designed this first, followed by this. Or maybe it was the other way around. I might have designed this first and then filled it in on top and then just pasted the mirror of it down. There was a potential for expansion. I think I wrongfully got copper plates here when I didn't need them. Oh well. Next is, here we go, military all the way here. All right, so a very coal-hungry factory. I actually have two core coal offloading. Of course, design also is a bit more complicated since we need there's more subcomponents. So grenades being produced here. That's just how it's styled so that I can fit these in between. And then I have the walls to 28. So two assemblers for the walls, two 28 assemblers for the military science packs. And of course, the ammunition here on the right. Right, next, let's go to my oil processing, which is split into two. First, let's go to the. Yeah, let's do it towards the end. Let's go to purple science. Alright, one of the more complicated designs because I messed up the ratios. So over here, stone to brick, similar setup, kind of a similar setup to the grenade that we saw just now. Furnaces, and then the reason why it's complicated is I under provisioned the rails, so then I added another one to the right side. And this actually is a hybrid bot and belt factory. So let's just see how it works. See if I can get a train in to pick up some purple signs. Let's just this guy out of the way. And we'll go to our, let's go back. View. Where is it? Here. So let's just get this train to pick up more of the purple signs. Looks mesmerizing. It's one of the cooler designs in my factory, in my opinion. It's the only hybrid one other than the starter base. I don't think the starter base has any of the sciences served by a robot. So yeah, it's pretty cool to do a hybrid base as well. Something for you guys to think about. Now we have to hopefully not get killed since these guys are just about to exit. Okay, now blue signs. Yeah, I think my let's just add this so that my red chip train can go in. Okay, so blue science also a bit complicated. So rather than just having one long one, I still have the long one, but the belts get topped up midway with the red chips and the sulfur. So I have one going in, tops it up. I have this one splitter, tops it up over here. Of course, engines, then they go in. So four of each for each product, sub sub assembly. Then yellow science, which is all the way here. Let's see, where can we park? It's over there. All right. Oops. Oh, refueling. The refueling is all done in the smelting area. All right. So here we are, and it's actually co-located since yellow science uses a lot of products from the oil processing, which is why this is so far out here, because I have an oil field here, so I have the accumulators and the yellow science that feed off of this source. So I have the advanced oil processing output to a bunch of tanks, light oil to petroleum, light oil to petroleum over there. And then I have the plastics over here. More plastics. And then the batteries. Sulfuric acid. More batteries. And so this is how the design is like. And then gears. Where are these gears going? Oh, it's for my radar. Yeah. See this interesting combination. And that is because it's getting sent here to where the satellites are being produced. Okay, so we have the yellow signs. Let's go next to the oil processing, the other parts of my oil processing. And that is over here. So I have another oil field here and a bunch of a much larger stack for oil refining. We've arrived. So all of this is just to produce petroleum gas. And the reason why is for the red circuit production that's upstairs. Yeah, this and this. So there's actually two production facilities for petroleum, one here and then I have another one here. Essentially I have this also, which I have not tapped into yet. So how it works, advanced oil processing stacks, heavy oil to light, and then the light oil gets consumed, make all the petroleum. And I pipe water in from two locations. Originally, I want this is the nearest one, but then I kept getting biter attacks, so I just decided to just pipe all the way here to the right. I just have these pumps here, and that does the job. And then for the other one, all the way on top, it's the much smaller version, but it's the same design essentially. And for an expansion over here, it's not powered. And then let's see where is the drop off for those. Right here is one drop off for the petroleum. They get piped up. The plastics over here, and I even over provision for it, and they get sent fed through. Same thing on top. I have two here. They're getting fed into the plastics and then back in. Okay, so we've I think covered most of the oil processing. Now let's go to the last one, which is rocket fuel. So let's see where our train pathing takes us. Let's just we will do. All right. So also located near an oil field so that we have less logistics to do. So advanced oil processing to this time I use both light oil and petroleum solid fuel. So petroleum to solid fuel, then scroll down, light oil to solid fuel. So I just have both available and I don't use circuits to balance it out. Yes, I just brute force it. I just brute force it. And I think that's fine. So more advanced oil processing here. So it looks like my heavy oil to light oil is not keeping up. This one. Yep. Output full. Yeah, it is output full. But anyway, we will I'll talk about the bottleneck for the mega base, and there is actually a bottleneck here, and I've really been fighting the urge to try and clear up that bottleneck. Again, I'll explain later. Okay, so from rocket fuel, the next one, let's go to the satellite since it's on the way to the RCU and low density structures. It's over here. Oh, hello, my dear Spidertrons. Let's see, what are these guys? Okay, this is the. So these guys build all these science factories. So hands off to these guys. And yes, this is another prep work that I missed out on. Sorry about that. But yes, for the smelting area, I depended on bots. But for these satellite factories within the mega base, I use Spidertrons, and a lot of them. I have, I think, one or two more groups of these around the base. One is just to build the nuclear reactors, and I think one is for miscellaneous stuff. All right, satellites. Yeah, for such a small assemblage, has a lot of resources that it needs. Oh wait, actually, it's not even this. It's this. Yeah, so just one assembling machine for the 3000 science per minute, and solar here gets fed directly to here. Yeah, it's just one chest. All right, next, um, low density structures. Let's go here. All right, one of the more uniform designs in the base, and for anyone who has played Factorio, it's a copper sink. So one, two, three trains to deliver copper. I have this. This is just how it goes. I have it snake a bit. Then it gets fed out. And I provision enough space to have four of these stacks. Because I just thought you you're just going to need a lot. But fortunately, yeah, I just need half of it. Next is the RCUs. And the RCUs are the actual bottleneck of the mega base right now, other than the research labs. All right. As you can see, green chips are missing, which was why I had to extend the green chip, the green circuit facility at the smelting area. And how this is are basically 4 copies of the same. Well, it's actually 8 copies of this one module here. So then I just copy and pasted them like a fractal, and then just resource in, resource out. So now finally, we can go to the silos. And I've always wanted the silos to be at the starter base. I just felt it was kind of poetic. So let's just go back to our staging area. Alright, the silos. Let's just see if I can get a train of RCUs to come in. This has 350. Okay, so let's just unload this. Alright, so how this works is the silos are on their own logistic network. So it's disconnected from the rest of the base logistically. And as the RCUs come in, let's stay out. The distribution gets handled by the robots. They get filled in, and we have rockets launching. And let's follow where the space science goes. So requester chests here and here, and they get sent across and up, across the offloading stations. Over here, then they get sent down to here. So since we know where these guys are going, let's go to the final end destination. Alright, so let's go to the last point. For that, alright, research labs. And took a while to design it, getting all the belts to go where they're supposed to go. But yes, this is what determines the 3000 signs per minute calculation. So if I add more, I can raise the bar and get more than 3000 signs per minute. But if I do that, there is a potential to open a can of worms. As we'll notice that my RCUs are bottlenecked, and they're in turn bottlenecked by the green circuits, which is in turn bottlenecked by basically not having another circuit set up at the smelting area. So I could go on much larger, and my UPS will suffer. So yeah, just stuck with 3000 signs per minute. And I think that's good enough. I learned a lot, and I'm very happy with the result. So we've come to the end of the tour. If you guys have, if there's any particular area that you guys want me to go into detail, please let me know in the comments. If there's any particular design that you would want to have a blueprint of, please let me know as well in the comments, and I will accommodate. I'm not sure how relevant these designs would be with the new space age expansion, but if you guys still want it, then feel free to ask. And with that, thank you guys for watching. It's a long video. Thank you. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye bye.